Yeah, like if you're
Yeah.
giving up drugs and on Friday night you have a bump, you don't have to go to Monday.
No.
It doesn't have to be 4 days of robbing people for phones to sell to get more gear. Like,
That's not the analogy that I was going to go with,
no?
Tom. But
All right, fair enough.
I'm glad it's how you've
Seen different things,
experienced.
lived
Yeah,
different
you and
lives.
I have approached life in a very, very different way.
Right.
Speaking of approaching things in different ways, though,
Yeah.
let me ask you, what do you think makes a good session zero, or do you think session zero is needed at all? Maybe shall I explain session zero first, and
Sure.
then
Give me
you
a
can.
definition so that we know where we're going from.
So my understanding is, or how it's kind of presented the classic way, is a session zero is a session where everyone comes together,
Yes.
and
That's what you want.
it is.
That's what you.
It's
That's the
polite.
ultimate goal. Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone comes together and sits down, talks about the game that they're about to play,
Mm-hmm.
creates, maybe does a little bit of character creation
Mm-hmm.
or character outline, decides on some relationships that their characters are going to have, decides on meeting times and table etiquettes,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of lines and veils and things like that.
Okay. So,
Lines and veils being sort of a safety tool of, what you're going to draw a hard line on being
to not include.
to not do,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're kind of going to happy to say this is in the world but not necessarily something that we want to focus on.
Okay. Yeah. That's quite broad then, but then it's lots of different situations that it comes into, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll talk about us first and how we do it with our group when we have a session zero. But our group is established, so your mileage may vary, and then I guess we can talk about a new group thing, which is probably going to be a bit longer, or
Yeah.
you'll have to cover a few more of those lines and veils. But people's lives change, so their lines and their veils may change. So,
Mm-hmm.
How I would do a session zero for our group is before the campaign starts. We meet on a Monday, so we'll meet on a Monday. I would like for everybody to have a character already.
Mm-hmm.
So, generally speaking, before I run something, I'll ask people. First of all, I'll ask the GM who's currently running. When we're coming maybe 3 weeks out to their thing
Yeah.
finishing, I'll message them. I'll say, are you comfortable with me raising the next campaign to get people thinking? Overwhelmingly, the answer is always yes,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just the natural order of things. So maybe 2 or 3 weeks out, I'll say that, and that gives people time to live their lives but also come up with some ideas of things they want. Look at the system that we're going to be playing and where they want to fit in that. My expectation from the people that we're playing with is that I've read a 300-page rule book frantically twice the week leading up to the game, as well as one more pleasurably beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
I've written an overarching story and all this stuff, right? Or maybe we're running a module, or maybe it's sandbox and you guys are deciding what you're doing. But there's way more work for a GM. So I want your characters beforehand so that I can make sure that the group is well balanced in terms of what they do. The last thing you want is 5 wizards.
Yeah. I mean, 5 wizards is I'm just
It's
putting it out
probably
there as
fun,
a really
actually.
fun concept.
Okay, the last thing you want is
Oop-
5
oops, all-
clerics or 5 rogues.
No, you're still playing into my oops all clerics is
Yeah, you wake up in the University of Wizards. Wait, that's just Harry Potter, the TTRPG,
yeah.
right?
Oh, that Strixhaven. Let's say Strixhaven
Sure.
because it's slightly less problematic.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. But then you're always going to have one player who wants to be the emotional muggle,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. So get your characters' concepts ready. In fact, more than that, I want your character sheet to be made.
Yeah.
The exception with that is that within the first 2 or 3 weeks of something I'm running, and most people run, if there's something that you don't like about what you've created, change it. That's
Yeah.
fine. And then on the day, we'll sit down, we'll go through our character sheets. If there's any difficult things or any unique things to the system to go over, and we can go through that together. So we can do a little bit of walking and polishing off the characters we've created together and getting to know each other's characters.
Deciding on the
Above
interpersonal.
table, yeah, deciding on relationships, like you said, above table, and then that's probably like an hour to an hour and a half, and then ideally I want to stop playing.
Yeah.
With the precursor that, it's fine if it doesn't work out particularly well, but I don't want to miss a week's role playing.
No.
I can miss half a week's role playing if we get
So I
set
think
up.
for me, that is the kind of crux as well. I think when it comes to session zero, the only thing when it comes to session zero that I have a little bit of a problem with is the session part. I don't necessarily think that it has to be a sit down, come together,
Yeah.
and sort of
Yeah, I guess
go through.
the character thing, I guess I'm describing session zero before session zero, right? So you're
Yeah,
taking a bit of it out of it to
yeah,
free up some time to roleplay, which is what you guys did before I joined,
yeah.
actually. I'm only describing what our group
So
does.
I think with an established group, I think it's or with not, I think it's perfectly acceptable to have session zero in a chat, in like a WhatsApp or
Yeah, yeah.
a chat group or a Discord or whatever it is that you're using.
Mm-hmm.
I think it depends on the group that you're playing with. If you think that sitting in front of people is going to make that situation a lot easier,
Mm-hmm.
then by all means, I'm not sort of saying no. I'm not poo-pooing the idea entirely.
I mean, you might even be out. You might even all be free an additional day before you're due to meet.
Yeah,
So
go to a
you meet
bar.
on a Monday. Maybe people are free on the Sunday
Yeah,
to go for a drink and do it.
yeah.
Or the Saturday. So it's
And
different
just
shoes
a
for different
casual
folks.
chat of. I've definitely been in groups where I've wished that we've had a chance to sit down and properly chat about
Yeah.
what we're expecting from the group and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that kind of stuff. I've definitely been in groups where we find a little too late that somebody's really just there for the free therapy session and
Mm-hmm.
is going to sort of air out all their sort of problematic political views on
Yeah, 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 yeah.
what's it? I think
That can happen.
So I think, but I think when you're established, I think just sort of checking in on a group or something and saying this is the character that I'm playing.
Mm.
I've done it with your Cyberpunk game that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I went on and said, "Oh, is anyone interested in having a relationship, joining in a relationship?"
Mm-hmm.
And I think nobody was comfortable playing as my spouse.
Yeah.
But I think one of the other players, Joe, and I decided it would be quite interesting to be a divorced couple.
Okay.
Um,
Built-in conflict. I'm looking forward to seeing that play out.
you can look forward as much as you want because we've actually already played the first session and you killed that character.
Well,
So now
I just remembered that.
so now Joe's character
Did I
is
kill the character, or did you dress up as the person being hunted down and then get hunted
look.
down?
Circumstances killed that character.
Sure.
The dice killed that character.
The
'cause
dice.
They
The
were
dice.
they were telling the story.
It was the dice.
So
They
so
killed the
now
shit out of that character.
So now Joe is going to have to come to
widowed.
terms with being a widow.
Oh, he's got a revenge arc.
Yes,
Oh.
because they're all still around.
Yeah, there's a revenge arc.
There we go.
That definitely will not feature. Don't remember that, David.
So yeah, so I put on there. Would anyone be interested in playing a couple in a relationship?
Mm-hmm.
But like I say, it came back that me and Joe were divorced,
Yeah.
which I thought was really fun.
Yeah, I think it's better actually. I think it actually gives you more to work with.
They don't always have to be good relationships, but as long as everybody's comfortable with the possibility of that, then we're good. But that's what the session zero is about for me more than anything. Especially if you've got a group that you've not played with before, it's figuring out where people's comfort zone is.
Yeah, so I guess we should probably move on to that. So if you've got a group that you haven't played with before, and I'll sort of skew this maybe with my ideas because I think I've played more online than you've played online, so I'll try and bring a bit of that to it maybe. So online, a session zero is like a Discord video call maybe if you're doing video stuff. If it doesn't have to be if you're not, and you'll all work on a document. The way I've seen it, you'll work on veils and lines. Is that the
Lines and
expression?
veils,
Lines and veils. So you can all sort of write on this. So in Roll20, you go onto a landing page, and you all have a text tool. So you can then just start adding text to the things that you want. And what I've seen done really well is people saying, okay, we're going to play a Cyberpunk campaign. I want you to write down the things that you are here for and you want played up about Cyberpunk. I want you to write the things about Cyberpunk you're not as interested in. and then I want you to write your lines in your veils. So typically people will do stuff like no-isms. There might be, I've seen stuff about harming children. I've seen stuff about dogs or animals, all manner of things, right?
Nothing that's in any of my games.
Yeah, right. All manner of things, pregnancy or drug use or basically whatever, right?
Yeah.
When I've been a player in a Cyberpunk game, I've put no-isms because I know what Cyberpunk is,
Yeah.
and that's okay because that's the world, right? But what I'm not interested in is hearing people playing it out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not interested in that. I know it's here. I get that Gang A doesn't like Gang B. If Gang A is a neo-Nazi gang, and they don't like this other gang who are quite obviously a gang a neo-Nazi group might not like, then I can understand that very quickly.
Yeah.
We don't need to necessarily play that out in loads of detail, right? So lines and veils when you don't know people is really important, and also understanding what we were there for.
But I think what it comes down to as well with lines of veils, and we'll get onto the line of veil discussion in of itself at some point, and safety tools and stuff. But it's not just about applying them during session 0 and then forgetting them. It's about upholding them as well. And again, I'll talk about it a bit more at some point, I'm sure. But especially when we've done con games, convention games and things like that, which is literally you can meet people for the first time and then be running with them 5 minutes later. I always have a line of veil section at the beginning. You've got to make sure that people are all comfortable at the table, especially if you are doing something where people are putting money. It's usually a nominal fee to make sure that people are going to turn up.
Yeah.
You know, if people are putting money in, you want to make sure as many people are having a good time as possible.
So you want to run the table. If you're the GM, you're in control of that group, and as much as you might not have any experience, maybe, or maybe you do have experience, but socially, you people, if they feel uncomfortable, the first thing somebody's going to do is look to see your reaction as a GM. Yeah. And unless you challenge it quickly, you don't have to make a huge scene out of it, but you do need to check it. Remember the lines and bells, guys. I don't want to interrupt the fun too much. Let's keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever, right?
Or I mean, you've also got things like X cards and things like that. But again, we'll get into
all that stuff. But if you're doing contingency, which is that we go to. Yeah. You're doing your lines and bells in 5 minutes. What else are you doing in that introduction, which is kind of like maybe 15 minutes when everyone's getting their drinks and sitting down? What are you doing in there that you're taking from a session 0? Because it's like a condensed session 0.
Yeah, basically. You set up the lines and veils, you give people their character options and a bit of time to read through their...
If they're pre-gens, for example.
Yeah, or, we can make characters and sit a bit in them if we want to do that. Quite often when I'll bring people to the table, I'll dole out the characters and say, introduce myself, talk about my style of GMing in particular, because it's not, it's my style of GMing is a little bit off the wall kind of thing. It's high energy, especially when I'm in a convention setting.
Yeah, which is part of taking control of the table.
Yeah.
Or it lends itself to it, actually.
I think so.
Because you're a bit more energetic, like you say.
Yeah. Then I'll explain. So I'll do the initial setup, introducing myself, establishing what the game is, establishing who's going to be playing what, handing out the characters, asking for lines and veils, giving the safety tools, and then I'll say we'll go get drinks.
Okay.
And get comfortable. So I invite people to the table first.
Yeah.
And say, can we meet at the table first? Give them the thing. Talk it through, everything, what we're going to be doing, and then it's a break before we get into the introduction.
That's nice, because that also makes that you can come, so you can deliver all that important information, which is serious information, or it can be, right, if you're doing safety stuff, and it needs to be respected at least. And then you immediately break into a more casual setting, which is stand up, move about, come back. While there's a queue of people waiting for a drink, others can have one-on-one chats at the table.
Yeah. It also gives people a chance that if they're not necessarily comfortable with saying out on the table what they want a line and veil through, they can come to me directly.
That's
and speak to sort of speak to me privately. And that's the important thing. So even in a con game, having like that little session 0, And like I say, for me, that's what session zero is about. It's getting that kind of getting the rules of above table rules set in, getting people fully in the vibe of what they're doing, what they're so they know how they're moving forward, introduce their characters, and then have a little break so that some people that like to kind of take a moment to kind of feel their characters out a little bit more can do that, and then come back in swinging. And like I said, I can do that in 5 minutes, but I'm reasonably seasoned at that now. Although, in fairness, I have kicked somebody off my table during that session zero before.
Okay, obviously don't give names.
No.
But vaguely, what? Give us the vagues on that. Don't get too
No. So basically, I asked somebody. I gave the opportunity for people to share their lines and veils, and the person was like, "Here's my line," and that person, another person at the table went, "Oh, you mean this kind of thing?"
Oh, and give an example.
And gave an example.
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, time for you to leave."
That seems fair.
Because that's not how I roll.
Yeah, well, yeah, this is the thing you have to understand. And like I said, I'm sure we've got like ideas of these little clips to go and chat about. I'm sure safety stuff will come up as one of them. Yeah, it's like the one time if you've got a table of people you don't know, it's the one time that you need to stop what you're doing and pay attention for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that you establish the boundaries so everybody can then enjoy themselves. Because you have no idea why this person's got this line or veil.
No.
It could be something really traumatic. It could be just that they're not interested in
Well,
it.
I mean, even if it's not, it doesn't matter.
That's what I mean. It could be something that my games at home have a lot of drug use in them because of the type of games we play at home.
Yeah.
I'm here for something different.
Yeah.
So I want to stay away from that. If somebody else at the table immediately make jokes about it, they're maybe not making direct fun of it, but challenging it, then you're right to say, all right, well, we're not going to do that again. And you know, just step away now.
Shenanigans ensued elsewhere because of that, but I don't think I was in any particular wrong situation there, and the organisers sort of agreed.
I mean, you're right. At the end of the day, you're running it.
Yeah.
If it's a con, people have signed up to play it.
It wasn't at What's It either.
It's a different con.
Yeah.
If you're at a con, people have signed up to play it. The most you can do is give somebody how much they paid to play it back. Send them on their way. They lost their time, but ultimately it was their action that caused it.
Yeah, this is session zero, so we're not, but we'll get on to lines and veils and stuff a bit later.
So if you're doing an online one, what I like to say is obviously you have that collaborative line and veil thing. That if there's topics that are so sensitive, you don't want to put them on the board. Message me on Discord privately, and there'll be confidence there, right? Once you've sort of got the safety stuff out of the way.
As long as people are happy to understand that if they're coming to you privately, you can't then dictate necessarily what other people are going to say and do. You can gloss over it. You can move away as quickly as possible from that situation as the GM. But you can't necessarily stop.
What I've done when someone's done that is I've presented it as a line or a veil that I have.
Yeah.
So I've taken away... And I've not telegraphed it in any kind of way. But I'll just say, so for example, one of mine is this. That way, there's no finger pointing. Not that there ever is, but it relinquishes that person of the kind of responsibility there, and it leaves them free to. And they'll also feel like you've got their back. Yeah. Which is a nice tone to set at the table.
So moving away from sort of importance of
safety
stuff and above table etiquette and things like that. Obviously, establishing the feel of the game is important.
Yeah.
You know, if we did anthropomorphic rabbit game the other week. Obviously, a session zero is the good time to sort of tell us whether or not we're playing Looney Tunes or Watership Down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, you know, if I'm playing Watership Down and you're playing Looney Tunes and you try and seduce a dog in a nice slinky dress disguise as a rabbit.
Yeah, definitely in both ways.
Yeah, it's going to be very problematic for you.
But it's the same in everything. It's the same in everything. So you could be in D&D and you could be in a homebrew.
Yeah.
So you can create your character before session zero. You have to establish the world then that these characters are going to go in.
Yeah.
And play in, right? And live in. So, you know, you could be playing a Cyberpunk game, Cyberpunk Red, which is the game that I run, and you could be in a different city. You could be... I've just started doing a bit of work on it where it's street level.
Yeah.
So the expectation is you guys aren't heroes.
Yeah.
So then that just sets, so everyone understands where you are. The kind of stuff that at
But
an
that's the
opening
kind of thing
scene-
that you need from session zero. Or
Yeah.
and I think session zero is the name that we're using here, but this is, I think, broadly should be understood to be a sort of overarching pre-game thing rather than necessarily, you know, a session where you're all sitting down and doing this. This is just the stuff that people need to know even before they come and sit down at the table to play their first session.
I've got a good one for you. If you think about Alien, the movie, anyone who's ever watched it, lots of people hopefully will have. You've got the opening scene where Mother comes back online, which is cut with some of the opening credits.
Mother being the computer.
Mother being the computer. And then the opening scene cuts to the crew coming out of the cryo bay pods. And there are other films that do this as well. If you're in a city, there'll be credits rolling while there's like B-roll behind it showing the city you're in. Session zero is that opening scene where you're establishing the world, right? You're in space. These people they're just coming out of cryo sleep. Mother's come back online. Why has Mother come back online? What's the situation?
Yeah.
Now we're going to go and learn that as the movie starts, right?
Yeah.
So it's that type of stuff.
Yeah, so it's feeding in to the feeling that you're going to have, the feeling that you're going for. I mean, invariably, you can say this is a really serious, gritty horror drama, and then it will immediately turn into Red Dwarf.
Of course.
But, you know...
But that's for your players to decide.
Yeah.
If they want to play Red Dwarf in Alien, then, you just go with it and you have fun with it.
Yeah.
You bring the alien from Spaceballs into Alien, the one that...
But then you know, I think obviously then sort of bringing people back on theme is probably its own sort of discussion, isn't it? But I think, what have we established then in regards to...
So what makes a good session zero?
Yeah.
If your GM asks you to create characters beforehand, do it. Because the counterpoint is that you have a table full of people with created characters and you have somebody else holding up the table.
Literally sitting at the table making their character as everybody else is rolling dice.
Yep, which is not fun it's not fun to set up, right? Things happen, so that can happen occasionally. And if it happens occasionally, that's fine. If you're meeting a new group, make sure, and you're agreeing to like timelines and stuff, then make sure that you've created your character, I guess, beforehand. Decide on what you're happy to be involved and what you're not happy to be involved with the safety tools that we touched on. I think if you're a player and it's a game with IP, which is something that I often run. You sort of dubbed me as the IP GM.
Yeah.
Then if you're a player watching the films or reading the books, well, it definitely isn't necessary. And you don't have to do it before session zero. Doing it during the campaign can be fun. Because it gives you the sort of cultural references that get the group going. So you can do a little bit of looking at the world.
When you ran your Aliens, I enjoyed watching the Alien movies and sort of putting the mechanics to the actions in the films. That was an interesting... So we're establishing... So we're doing our homework, basically.
Basically, a bit of homework. Make sure your head's in the right space. And then I guess the last thing, the thing we haven't spoken about too much is, where possible, start playing. So if you're a GM... something I like doing quite a lot is dropping people right in the action. Now that might be right in the mystery. So with an Alien game where you guys were brought online for some mysterious reason, go find out why. We did a Cyberpunk game where you guys were dropped on the roof of a gang hideout and you guys had to go and take care of business. Something that strips away a load of the preamble and goes, right, get involved, roll some dice, be your characters. Because waking up in a tavern and talking works, right? Whatever. It's the biggest start ever in D&D.
It's the cliche, you're strangers in a tavern kind of situation. It works for some. It works for a reason. But
I like really dropping people in it though.
I quite like if I'm going to run in a session zero or run in an early game, to run something not either adjacent or not directly involved with the main story.
Oh yeah.
Or perhaps it's the job that you're proving yourself for the job that you're going to get. That's going to be the start of the campaign. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we did that on session. We did that with Cyberpunk last week.
Yeah.
So what we ran last week was a one shot online.
Yeah.
That I found online, sorry. And we had some people who couldn't make it, so it was even, we could still play. It wasn't involved in the pre-written module that the plan is to run, but just get involved.
Yeah. So, good session 0. Firstly, it doesn't necessarily have to be a session. Can just be a chat.
Yeah. Can start before the session, preferably, I think.
Themes of the world, setting up your characters, above table etiquette, lines and veils, and getting started.
Also, decide on your funny accent if you're going to do.
The funny accent. You've got to decide. You've got to get it nailed.
Yeah. If your plan is to be a South African whose accent is actually Australian because for some reason in my head they're far too similar, then make sure you get yourself a couple of touchstones you can go to.
You know your problem is you're just some kind of crazy person.
Aye. See, I got it wrong. I'm not as good at accents as I think I am.